Oh, what have I got here?
The broadcast is
I think
live.
we're actually live, and there's me just like chucking stuff everywhere. But never mind. Hold on 1 second. We are live this morning. This is us live. So I am Sound Academy. This morning it's me, Nat Rich, and I'm live with Charles, the fabulous host. And I don't know what's going on with my camera this morning. I'm just going to set that up here. Yeah, that's better. We're all live. How are you this morning, Charles?
Marvelous. Thank you very much. I've had a productive morning. I finished that 30-second video that I was supposed to finish before next week. So
amazing. So you're ahead of the game.
I'm ahead of the game. It looks good. It looks very good. I'm happy with it so far.
Good. And this morning, I found out I'm going to Medicine Festival.
Oh, you're going to be there.
I'm going to be there. Yes. If anybody doesn't know what Medicine Festival is, it is a festival all about medicine and plant life and basically living a sustainable life and a positive, so like a calm, nice future, isn't it? It's what they hope the future will be.
It is the only festival happening in 2020. So anybody in their right mind is going to be there.
Exactly. And, so I'm very excited.
Alcohol free.
Yeah.
0 alcohol being sold on site.
Yeah. Love that.
Which is mellow. I suppose that's how they're managing to actually go ahead. I think with the permission from council, because Lord knows you can't keep 1,000 wasted people apart. Well, drunk people anyway.
No, it's going to be 600, isn't it? So 600 people. I was reading the website this morning. So there's 600 people. There is a social distancing, obviously set up with all the areas, and they are testing everyone for temperature and stuff when you go in. You can't go if you've been in connection with somebody that might have had coronavirus in the last 14 days or has been in isolation for the last 14 days. Not that you would have been near them if they've been in isolation, but you know what I mean. So we are basically, Abby messaged me this morning, kindly offered to get my tickets because I've been coaching her, and so I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's 600 ticket sales, and then there'll be the crew as well. So I assume there's going to be about 1,000 people on site.
Yeah, probably there's going to be quite a few there.
But who knows? The girl organising it, Jenna Ansell, is a very old friend of Flo. She was actually a bridesmaid.
Not Jenna.
No, different Jenna.
Different Jenna.
But Jenna is also going to be there, so there'll be Jenna squared on site.
Yes, amazing. So this morning I wanted to discuss, because obviously we're going to Medicine Festival, I thought I'd have a change of topic. I was going to talk about money and positive and negative effects and so on, but I thought, let's go with psychedelics, positive and negative. Not all psychedelics. Good morning, Ryder. Is this you doing psychedelics? Love it. Bless him. Too early, too young. But
just to clarify, my baby is not on psychedelics.
Not on psychedelics, no. Neither of his parents are either today, and neither am I.
Today, thank you for clarifying that.
Today, yeah. So I wanted to do this because I thought it'd be an interesting subject. And psychedelics, obviously, for those of you who don't really know what they are, it's kind of mushrooms, LSD, the acid, all that kind of stuff. So it's basically a drug that takes you into an alternative reality. That's the easy way of saying it, isn't it? It puts you in a different mental state. And, you can hallucinate. There's lots of things that happen, but there are some horror stories about psychedelics. And there are some amazing stories about psychedelics. And I look at it in the way of psychedelics can be used as long as they're respected if you really feel like you want to go on that journey, but they're not necessary. They're not necessary for you to have an amazing life. They're not necessary for you to have an incredible spiritual journey. They can be used for you to get closer to yourself and really understand different parts of yourself. There's a lot of it's used in therapy. Now, a lot of people are using, even MDMA being used, isn't it? Not that that's a psychedelic, but we're having MDMA therapy, and then there's ketamine therapy, and there's a lot of...
God, that sounds awful.
I know, therapy. Right? Yeah, but there's a lot out there now of people using drugs that we once used for parties to really kind of put a different perspective on it and to help you with dealing with some of your traumas and some of the tougher times in life. So me and Charles are both experienced with psychedelics, and I think Ryder's saying in A Form Your Life he's also been into psychedelics. Was it mushrooms or acid, Ryder?
He's definitely walked this earth before. That's what our Gloria, our incredible midwife, said.
Yeah, he's walked the earth before. I'm sure he has. You've come from somewhere, Ryder. Bless him. So, and we've got Alex on this morning. So, hi, Alex, as well. He sent us a little message. Good morning.
Hey, Alex. Good morning.
Hey, Alex. Yes. So, Right. We'll start with you, Charles.
Yes.
Psychedelics. What was your first experience with psychedelics? And
Oh,
why did you take
God,
them?
it was awful.
Really? Tell me
Yeah,
more.
so I was with my best mate and his
Mm-hmm.
mate from uni, who it turned out was the son of David Gilmour, the lead guitarist of Pink Floyd. So I was like, right, we're with tripping royalty here. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. And we bought like 3 boxes of Philosopher's Stones truffles from Camden Market. Went back to my parents' house in a little annex outside and ate like a considerable amount actually. And my friend didn't really want all of his, so I ended up eating all of his as well. And Matt decided to put one candle in the middle of the kitchen table and put Coldplay's album on repeat. And I mean like the really depressing Coldplay album, like the early one. Anyway, cut to an hour later, I'm inside a duvet on the floor. I wanted to go inside and hug my dad and apologize for anything I'd ever done wrong, but obviously couldn't get out the duvet, which is a fucking good thing, because had I gone inside and apologized to my dad, it probably would have been a lot worse. My friend Ed was hiding behind the cistern of the loo.
Yeah.
Matt was just outside, like on his own little journey. And actually, my other friend Alex was there, and he was trying to call his Italian teacher from college, and kept calling her at like 2 a.m. and leaving her like really, really weird messages on her answer phone, to the point where we grabbed his telephone and like took the SIM card out, took the battery out, and put the SIM phone and battery at different ends of the house and hid them so he couldn't carry on doing it, because he was bumming us out. Like he was a conduit to the outside world, which is not what you really want when you're in that
You don't
state.
want to go there.
No, but it was all uphill from there. Well, I mean, there's been a few downhills, but
Yeah.
you got to break down to break through. That's my motto.
Yes, well, that's a very good motto, and I've experienced that myself. However, not on psychedelics. But yeah, so in terms of using psychedelics, you've obviously you've done mushrooms before.
Yep.
You done ayahuasca?
I haven't. No, I ate an ayahuasca chocolate in Ibiza last year, but it's not quite the same. I mean, it was nice because it gave you the effect of the green sort of lizard visuals on skin and everything. But no, it wasn't anything like like Flo did it when she was in Brazil, and she revisited her birth.
Oh wow, it's a deep one. Yeah, because there can be very, very deep processes, which we will cover and we will go into. So you've obviously done your mushrooms, you've not done your ayahuasca. Have you? You obviously done acid?
Yep.
Yeah, and out of have you done anything else? Have we got any other?
Yeah. Although for the life of me, remember, like there's all the synthetic psychedelics, obviously, like your 2Cs and your DOIs and DOMs and ACO5-DMT and DMT itself and Changa. So yeah, all of those.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot out there, isn't there? This is one of the things that, so like this show, I want to openly talk about psychedelics and I want to have the conversation around it. It's not that I'm an advocate and I think that everybody needs to do it. I don't think that they are for everyone. I'm very strong about that. I don't think that they're for everyone. I think there's also a time and a place, the set and setting that's important, who you're doing them with, why you're doing them with.
Yeah,
I think there's
our mutual friend Joe Friday says never inside the M25. That's his rule. That's a pretty good one.
That's a pretty good one. But I really feel like there's a lot of misuse of psychedelics at the moment out there. And when I say misuse, I mean absolute no respect, mixing it with other substances and also doing it in a setting that isn't safe, which is highly important because you're dealing with the mind. You're dealing with things that go on internally, not necessarily externally on a lot of these occasions, which is a minefield in itself. There's so much in there that can tip over the side. And if you're not with somebody that's experienced and you're not with somebody that, knows what they're doing, that's one of the worst places to be in. And I feel like I know what we're going through right now is awful on the planet. It's terrible. No one knows what's going on. Experts are only providing guesses because nobody has a clue. No one's been here before. And a lot of people may think that they're now going onto this spiritual path. There's like a kind of personal development journey where they're like, right, I need to figure out myself. They've got bigger questions than they've ever had before. I personally feel like because the world's so crazy externally, to now start a psychedelic journey at this time in life, I think would be something for me is like a definite no. because the world is so unstable in every area that we have. To go on a psychedelic journey now, if you've never done one, or you're starting on that path, or maybe to do ayahuasca, the energy of the planet right now is bonkers. It's really, really crazy. And, there's a big difference between taking a little bit of a mushroom at festival and going on an ayahuasca journey, which is insanely different. And
sure. But I mean, you could argue that because the planet is in such a state that people need to be going on these journeys to find these answers, and also,
yes, you could.
It also just depends. It's totally subjective. It depends on what your actual mental state is at the moment.
Which is the main reason. I think it's not good for a lot of people to do right now, is because we are so unsure of what's here, of what's going on. So mentally being prepared for something like that. I mean, you have to prepare for a week properly to take ayahuasca. For a week, like digital download, make sure you've got the right diet, making sure that you're not online, you're not accessible, you're really working on yourself. A lot of that is very difficult to do when the world is the way it is at the moment. But I totally get you. It's subjective. It's down to each and every person. But I
think it depends how affected you are by current affairs.
Yeah.
Massively. If you just make that decision that you're just going to focus on you and just not you and your immediate environment, rather than I don't read the news because it's not impartial. It's just it's total trap. I read positive news because it's great, but I don't read the news. When I was back in London the other day at Flo's parents' house, and there was a newspaper on the table, and I looked like I read about a paragraph. I was like, no. It's just so low. It's just all so loaded.
It is.
But in terms of like a personal development journey, like I don't think that I think that they can be mutually exclusive. I don't think that you need to. You're necessarily suddenly gonna start pranging about the global affairs that you have absolutely no control over because you eat some acid.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people who've taken ayahuasca that are, how do I say? Because they've tipped their toe into the other side of the veil, as we call it, and they've seen past the veil in some way. You can get very, you can kind of think you're healed before you're actually healed, which gives you a lot of confidence. And a lot of people can have conversations about things they don't really know about because they have this new confidence. And I've met a lot of that. I've met a lot, especially living in Ibiza. A lot of people, because they've done so many ayahuasca trips, they think it's good. Oh, I've done 14 ayahuasca trips. And you're like, okay, maybe you've missed the point and the message of the first couple of times when that's enough to do it. But to do it like 14 times, and some people do it every day. I've met people in Ibiza that microdose. Have you ever met anybody that microdoses ayahuasca?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, it's that in itself is a lot. But it is down to each and every individual. But I do feel like there's kind of been a massive uptake of it at the moment, and it's now cool to do. And lots of people go, oh yeah, I want to try this, and they're doing DMT in their flat in Brixton, and they're just in the and just on their own or with somebody else. And it's like,
I'm chuckling because I smoked DMT in my flat in Brixton. So.
What was that experience like for you?
It's great. It's great. Yeah. I love like full disclosure came at psychedelics and everything else from a hedonistic way, and I've got a very strong constitution, and I can imbibe a lot of these things and still manage to retain a grasp on not a reality, but it's just, I'm quite level-headed. I mean, I have meltdowns as well quite frequently, but every time I do, I wake up the next day being like, that was absolutely incredible. I feel so clean. I feel so light, and I just want to do it all again right now.
Yeah, the feeling can be incredible, can't it? When you wake up after ayahuasca, the feeling is like no other morning of you waking up. It's like you are fresh out the womb and nothing's bothered you. Nothing could bother you. You look back over your life and you're like, no problem. And everything just seems so easy and achievable, which I love that state, because it does put you in a place where you're confident again, but you're at peace. Like a lot of these psychedelic trips will take you to a place of peace that you very rarely experience in life. And it is so beautiful. I don't know if that's Flo in the background. I can hear. Sorry. I have to shut the door. Shut her out. Shut her out. But yeah, this place of peace that you can go into is the point where I think most people love to go back to, because that, when nothing bothers you at all, it's very rare to sit in that place, because most of the time you'd have, your bills, or you'd have something that you're thinking about, or it might be a problem with a partner or something. But to get absolute peace, that doesn't happen very often. Do you find that?
Yeah, I mean, this is why people do these things from a hedonistic point of view, is escapism, isn't it? It's not necessarily, I don't think, going into a festival and be like, I'm going to be absolutely tanked this week. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think letting rip like that is so important. You've got to have a release valve, and if that's your tipple, then that's your tipple. But you should definitely take stock of where you are mentally and emotionally before going into something like that. And there was many years when I didn't indulge in psychedelics because I wasn't in the right headspace. It was kind of funnily, after I did a lot of touring of Eastern Europe, like driving around in my camper van with mates, and the first couple of times, it was sort of, we were fresh out of uni, didn't really have a care in the world. And then I remember going back to Boom Festival in Portugal 2 years later, and didn't indulge actually for about 4 years, because I did it sort of once or twice, and there was always this feeling of unease, like I'd become an adult, but I hadn't achieved anything, and I had to sort
I
of
felt
go
that
out
so many times in my life.
Yeah, and there was just a feeling of sort of something wasn't quite sitting right in me, and as a result, I just sort of took a step back from that, and I went down the chemical route instead. Because they're reliable. They're reliable. But not the psychedelics aren't reliable, but they give you much more of an insight into your current situations, and chemicals do not do that at all. No. Not well, certainly
make me totally unaware of yourself. Totally. So I myself, my little dog's walking by. Sorry, little Frankie, the dog that I take for a walk, is just walking by the window. No, so I love him. That's crazy attraction to dogs. So the main thing kind of that I feel that you get from psychedelics is this awareness of yourself on a much deeper level that does tend to last. So you kind of become a little bit more aware of your own bullshit, shall we say, and you can see your role in certain situations, which I think is quite important. And to be able to do the work and kind of, really use that insight, because it's what it is, it's insight, to use that insight in your relationships outside is quite important. But also, I think a lot of the times that when you do psychedelics on your own, you can kind of work with, if you're single or whatever, you can kind of work with yourself and cool. But then when you get into relationships, I think that's where a lot of the magic can really happen. And not that I have personally have a relationship that I can quote on that, but I know a number of couples that have done psychedelics together, and they've got this deeper, profound bond connected when they have these trips that I think is beautiful. I've never experienced it in that way.
It's absolutely right, and it's the beauty of. I think Flo's watching TV. Give me 1 second.
This is what happens when you have a live show.
What's on?
And it basically you just get background noise, and Flo's there.
Flo's mum is on the phone.
Oh right, okay. Can you turn it? Did you just tell her to tone it down?
Yeah, I just did. Yeah.
Sorry,
trying to shut her up for years.
I know, right? Shutting up the mother-in-law. I have no part in that.
No,
I love you.
Lovely.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yes. So relationships and psychedelics. I mean, it's the thing about it's when you are on LSD or mushrooms or ayahuasca or DMT or whatever, you can. It's an insight into the sacred geometry of existence and the patterns that exist everywhere, and you can see things that you simply don't see when you're not on one of these substances. But they are there, and all this sacred geometry does exist, and it's all the golden theory of proportion and Fibonacci and all this stuff. It's all there, and it allows you to see this. And when you're looking at someone that you love, uncontrollably, it's like the most incredible sensation ever. And then of course there's the sex, which is like
off the scale.
Just like what was that. It's insane.
What was that? What was everything else I've been doing before
what,
now?
Yeah, what happened? What happened? We need to do this every day.
Yeah.
And it's astonishing, the connection, because you can feel the connection. Like, you can actually feel it. You can see the connection. Like, actually see the connection between you, which is just the most astonishing thing. You know, love and psychedelics are like, you know,
go hand in hand.
Bedfellows.
Yeah. There's a number. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the stuff with Paul Stamets on Joe Rogan about mushrooms and stuff and all the different. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. Have you not? I'm going to send it to you. It will blow your mind, Charles. It will blow your mind. This guy is incredibly knowledgeable. Is mycologist, if that's the right word, isn't it? And he just has incredible knowledge about the depth of which we can use, especially mushrooms within society, not just on a, you know, let's all get high way, but in terms of medicine, in terms of using it as a material for clothing, in building, in, you know, there's so much there that's available to us to be able to use fungi and mushrooms in that way. And that really opened my mind up, because you think psychedelics, you think, oh yeah, people tripping. But, you know, what can be achieved when you're on a trip in your mental state, and, you know, what thoughts are allowed and what thoughts come, and where you go, and how much vision, like we were discussing yesterday when I said to you that the power of vision that you have when you take mushrooms is incredible. And some of the biggest advancements that we've ever had in history are down to the fact that the inventors were high. And when they thought about this, and then that's something I find really interesting, is that we just think, you know, a lot of people who judge psychedelics, who don't really know them, who haven't done them, will either look at it from a spiritual perspective and say, oh, you can do it with it, you can do the work without, which you can. There's no doubt you can do that. But some people will judge it from a religious perspective, saying that it's not what they believe is right for humans. But obviously that's each and every person's different. But also some people will look at it from the perspective and just judge people, thinking of like the 60s or the 70s and all the bad press that was around it by then, you know, and all the things that went down.
But that's we've still got a hangover from that. Like,
totally.
The whole war on drugs, the Reagan, I mean, the war on drugs started a long time before that Reagan administration. But you've got, you know, it was people in the 60s, 50s and 60s were dosing huge amounts, you know, 1,000, 2,000 mics, and then the Timothy Learys, etc., you know, the really outspoken people were sort of going in one direction, and then obviously the war on drugs, and then all the psychedelics got lumped in the same bracket as cocaine, which is just totally, and then you get told that, you know, that story I remember being told as a kid, or like just seeing in media, like, if you take acid, you will jump out of a window. It's the only thing that will happen. You'll chop your penis off with a rusty baked bean can and jump off the roof of a building. It's like, crazy. No, if you have pre-existing mental health conditions, you know, that's much more likely. But I mean, you look at the statistics, and it's, you know, it's not.
I know one person that's jumped out of a window when they were in Ibiza, and I met them in 2007. They were at that point in a wheelchair after jumping out of a window in Ibiza the year before, but they still go back to Ibiza raving, and they weren't on any form of psychedelics. They were on cocaine, and they were fully charged and thought it'd be great to jump out of a window. And unfortunately, it didn't work. And it was a real tough journey. I've never heard of anybody jumping off of anything or seriously injuring themselves personally, and I've got a vast network of people. I know thousands of people from all the places that I've lived and hang around with, but I don't actually know anyone that's had an injury of some kind on psychedelics. Do you?
I know one. If that wasn't an injury, they jumped out of a window, but it was a ground floor window, so 2 feet. Didn't matter.
It's like okay, but you know, this is the other thing as well. It's who's with you to allow you to jump out of the window sometimes if you're at a party, because, you know, I think I've been in settings where there's a lot of people, you just kind of look out for each other. There's obviously sometimes where you would just not know what's going on with other people around you, but I've always, you know, I've either been the sitter many times, or I've had someone around us that is, you know, not in the same state, and that's the safer way to do it, when you've got somebody to make sure that there isn't that window of opportunity,
window of opportunity, exactly. To defenestrate themselves.
Not good.
No, not good at all. Yeah. And so when you're in a situation, I mean, we're all professionals now. You know, we've been doing it for a long time, and there's always, even people that are, inebriated on said things. I've got a few mates who are anchors, and I'm a bit of an anchor as well. And if someone's having a bit of a weird one, I like, if I'm having a weird one, I can see someone who's someone who's just like a solid, a solid unit, and actually just being around that presence can sometimes, bring you down and calm you down a little bit, and sort of re-navigate. But if they're screwed, then it's anarchy, and everyone just disappears, and you all meet up the next day, and you're like, what the hell happened? That was nuts. Ended up in cosmic air.
And you're like, what's going on? Yeah, totally. I've got at the minute there you go. I'm just I've got my screen's frozen, but I don't think it's frozen on the YouTube. So I'm looking at our live selves on YouTube, which is quite strange. And I don't think it is, but if anybody can message us and let us know if it's frozen. But I think it's going live because we've still got the audio, and it's still live on YouTube, but I just can't see anything on my screen. So let's just wing it, Charles. Let's just keep going.
We'll just keep going.
Keep going. It's like being back on radio. Yeah, it's fine.
Exactly. This is what happens if I ever have, like an acid meltdown. I'm just like, you just keep going. Just push through. Just push through. It happened at Boom.
Be strong.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going through some quite serious personal stuff, and it didn't hold me back. And it was actually I was really high. I was with one of my oldest friends, and we were walking through the art gallery, and then I bumped into our site manager, a night office manager, who was just finished a shift in the art gallery, and was and she was so stone cold sober, and we were obviously like, she's like, oh Charles, how you doing? I'm like, oh no, I'm like, lovely to see you, but oh god, I've got to try and engage in a conversation, and I can barely see my own hand, and managed to style it out, I think, and then went from the art we hoped to go get some food in the food court, and she'd gone to get food as well, and she saw us again and came over and sat on our table. So it's just the three of us in the food court, and I was like, oh god. I'm trying to, when you know that feeling when you're like you don't have the power of conversation, but everything suddenly feels really awkward. And then that spun me out a bit, and then we walked through the food court, and we were going to bed, and I thought Flo had gone back to the campsite, but she'd actually gone to the dance floor. And
always going the right way, Flo. Always. Love it.
Getting baby back. Yeah, sorry. And then, anyway, I'll get to the point. Yeah, we were walking through, and I said to my mate, I was like, we should do this again sometime. And he said, oh, right. And he said, how about 2 days before the day after tomorrow? And I was like,
2 days before the day
after tomorrow. 2 days before the day after tomorrow. And we were walking through, and he was just looking at me. And I was like, wait, hold on, that's right now. And he was like, psych, and then just walked off to his campsite and left me. And actually, I got really, really spun out, and I walked along, and after 100 yards, I kept hearing people saying my name, being like, Charles, Audley, and I knew they weren't. So this happened before, and I knew they weren't saying it, but the whole world just got dark, and I realized I was going back to the campsite, so I was moving away from light, but even then, everything got darker and darker and darker, and just had a full nosedive into oblivion. It was like 50 Shades of Charles. There was 49. There was only one sane one saying you've got this. And all the other 49s were just like, the world's over.
Wow.
I ripped apart the tent, knocked over the tent pole, and was just, it was nuts. And then Flo came back 3 hours later to find me there, just in the tent, crying, oh, where did you go? But yeah, and again,
I have no idea.
I've no idea where I went, but and then woke up 3 hours later and was like, that was amazing. We're still again. Apart from,
I know.
I didn't want
that's the trick, isn't it? It doesn't matter where you go. You're you wake up, you're like, wow, can't wait to do that again. It is great. Do you know, my best psychedelic experience was the one with my dad.
What?
Yeah, that was my best trip ever. I was in Ibiza, and I went to do, so basically I'd been doing microdosing of mushrooms for some time, and I've been talking to my dad about it and one of my friends, and we used to go and trip together and have an amazing time. So I told my dad loads, and my dad had noticed that I'd changed quite dramatically whilst living out in Ibiza as well, with a number of things, just my attitude to things. I was a lot calmer, I was a lot more peaceful, and my dad liked the fact that he saw this kind of side of me, I think. And then when he came over to Ibiza, he was talking to my friend who we do the trips with, and he's like, so what is this, and really I was like, you want to go? You want to do this? Yeah. And he's just like, no. And then my mum's looking at him, I hope not. hope not. This is not going to happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, actually, I think I could give it a go. So we decided to do it. And we went up to the land where we do it that my friends got. And unfortunately, we just knew that night it wasn't the right night to do it. We just had this feeling where it's like, no, this is not the right. My dad's like, no, I'm ready. And we're like, no, it's not the right setting. And he's like, what? And it was just dark. It was really dark. The energy wasn't right. The wind was up. It just didn't feel good. So my dad was pissed off, basically. He's like, what? And I'm thinking, why is my dad annoyed that he can't take mushrooms? This is the weirdest scenario ever. So he flew back to the UK, and then when he got back, he said, right, I've booked my flight, I'm coming out on the 12th of July, this is when we're doing it. I was just like, okay. So I messaged my friend, I said, my dad's already booked his flight out again, so we have to do it when he comes out. So my dad flew out, specifically 48-hour trip. So he flew out to Ibiza, and it was meant to be a 24-hour trip, but my dad missed his flight on the way home. And basically, he because everyone does from Ibiza. So he flew in, and we went up to the land. Everything was set in. And my friend likes to talk a lot before we do, because he holds a ceremony. It's a full-on ceremony space. So he holds a real kind of setting. He has a way of talking to everyone. And so he's talking, doing his usual thing. And my dad's like, can we just get on with it? And I'm like, Dad, like, he's setting the space. Like, this is a real spiritual moment. You know, everything's really quiet. Everyone's really calm. And my dad's like, can we just get on with it? And I'm like, pipe down. So I'm giggling already because I'm like, I can't believe my dad wants to take mushrooms this eagerly. So then when we took the mushrooms, I think my dad did 3 grams, and I'd obviously 73 at the time, 72 or 73. I'd done 6, I think. Yeah, I'd done 6. And he sat there, and I could just see all of a sudden he's like, can you see what's going on right now? And I'm like, yep, hell yeah, I can see everything. And he's like, this is awesome. So he's there, like, you could see him just looking. He's like, wow. And then we started giggling. So me and my dad have got an amazing relationship, and we were just laughing at the same stuff. And he said to me, we need to go for a walk. So we start going for a walk, and he basically can't see anything but the mystical geometric patterns that are everywhere around us. And his face is just like mind blown at everything. And he's looking, and you could see his hands trying to touch everything and trying to see what was real and what was not. And I was just watching him and just like, this is incredible. But he said at one point, my mum had scared the life out of him, saying, oh, you know, make sure Nat doesn't drive on the way home, make sure she'll crash and all this. So she's
don't jump out of a window.
Don't jump out of a window. Don't jump off a cliff. No, all of that stuff. So she's like giving him the fear. So he then sits in this fear for a little while, and he's like, oh my God, I can see like a traffic accident, and I can see a police car and an ambulance and a fire engine. And I'm like, all right, Dad, just bring it down a bit. And he then says to me, no, I can see all of this. Anyway, we just kind of left it and said, no, it's just in your mind. Later on, I'd fallen asleep a few hours later. Later on, he then taps my friend and said, oh, I think, no, my friend, was at the side of the cliff near where he is, because it's his land. He knows he's not about to jump off the cliff. But my friend's looking over the side of the cliff and looks down onto the main road near where we are. And he shouts my dad over and says, David, come and have a look at this. And what my dad had seen 4 hours or so before in his mind of an accident was now at the bottom and the foot of the cliff. So Miguel, so it's happening live. So my friend was just like, oh, look at what's happening. And my dad was like, so my friend said to him, what you had was a premonition. So you basically saw that a few hours before, and now it's happening. So my dad's mind was like, poof. So he came and sat down, and he's like tapping me. He's like, nah. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, wow. He went, I understand, because I'd given him a book called Conversations with God, and that's, for me, that's my top book of all time. It blew my mind, and it's incredibly powerful. So I give it to my dad.
Throw it away the other day. I'll give it to charity because she thought it was literally like a religious book. Like,
no, she not read it.
No, it's a really good book.
No, you have to read that one, Flo. And so he'd got book 1, 2, and 3 after I got him number 1. So he got book 2 and book 3. So he's read them all, and he understands and how this all kind of works in a sense related to the book. So at this time when he'd had this premonition, he's like, I understand that there's a past, and there's a future, and there's a present, and everything happens here in the now. I get it. It's the now. We're all in the now. And I saw what was happening in the past or in the future in the now, and he's trying to make sense of it. But the way he was talking about it, I was just watching him. I'm like, oh my God, Dad, calm down. He's like, no, I get it. I'm like, okay. Brilliant. I'm so pleased that you get the whole point of life. And he's just like sat down, and he's just like, wow. And then he just went into this state of pure bliss. And I could see this face. To see your dad in pure bliss, contentment, listening to the crystal bowls, in the beautiful nature that is Ibiza, tripping his balls. I'm just like, oh my God, this is the magic moment. And then we went for a little walk after that. There was a point where he's walking and he just, I swear to God, he lost, it was like he was walking and everything out of him, it's like his soul just left for like a second and he just was blank. And me and my friend were like, oh, is everything okay? And I was like, I looked and I'm like, oh my God, Dad. And he just had nothing on his face. There was nothing there. And he's like holding onto my hand. And my friend took his other hand and my friend was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he's like, no words, nothing, no movement of the face. And I'm like, oh my God, I've killed my dad. I'm like, oh. And he literally just like closed his eyes, opened them again. And my friend was just like, can you tell me your name? And he's like, David. And he's like, can you tell me how old you are? My dad was like, 72 or whatever it was, 72 or 73. And I should know that, Dad. Sorry, I love you. And then I looked and I was like, Dad, do you know who I am? And he's like, you're my annoying daughter that's got me to take mushrooms. And I was just like, yes, that's me. Cool, we'll go sit back down. And I just loved that night because it was just a rare moment to see your parent in like, and my dad's, used to be in charge of drugs trafficking in Diego Garcia. Like his job was not small. He was like, head of police and chief of security for like 152 islands and against this kind of drug trafficking. But that was obviously hard drugs and stuff, not plant medicines. But still, there was a big contradictory thing there. And I think for him, he said he wouldn't do it again. I reckon he would. I reckon I could get him to a microdose again. Not that I'm going to spike him or anything, but I reckon he could. But my mom's like, nah.
Yeah. Well, totally the story about what happened with Flo's dad.
So I just become friends with you guys then, and I think you told me this. But go for the listeners. You have to say. So
we Matt, Flo's dad, was down in Bristol helping Flo's sister and her girlfriend with their house, and drove back up in a hire van. We were back in Hackney, our house. And he got to Putney, where Flo's parents live, and he was really hungry. There's nothing in the fridge. So he's about to take the hire van back to Kendal Cars, and he's like, God, he opens up the fridge. He doesn't usually eat chocolate, but there was a box of chocolates there. And he's like, oh, you want eats a whole chocolate. Gets in the hire van, drives back to Wimbledon, gets his bike out the back, cycles back across Wimbledon Common, gets home. He's like, pours himself a spritz. He's like, oh, it's a bit weird. It's a bit odd. And went upstairs, ran himself a bath, and he's like, the tap started to sparkle and glisten, and then he was like, oh, I need to go get myself another spritzer. Went and made himself another spritzer, and then he was like, this is very odd, and he texted Flo, he's like, what's in those chocolates? And at about 10:30 p.m, Flo gets a message saying, what's in those chocolates in the fridge? And Flo just replied saying, magic mushrooms, don't eat them, but then put her phone on airplane mode. She assumed that he was just asking what was in them, having not eaten one. And so anyway, we wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. And Flo takes her phone off, and she gets a message from her dad being like, I asked because I ate a whole one. Ask your mother, she'll tell you the rest. And there are 5 grams in there. So these aren't recreational. These are like talk to God amounts.
Wow. Direct delivery to God.
Yeah, fortunately they weren't the really, really strong ones. They were the sort of like mid-range ones. Had they been the really strong ones, the strain called Azurescens, which is the strongest mushroom in the world, percentage of psilocybin to weight, it would have been a very different experience. But he basically, and Flo's mum actually had a nibble off the end of one, but she was a big tripper in the 60s and 70s, so she knows what wagwan. But
she's like, give me the whole box.
Yeah, exactly. But Flo's dad has never touched anything in his entire life. Nothing. He's never needed it. He's got a really overactive mind anyway. Yeah. And apparently, so he had a bath, and they got out, and he came into the bedroom, and they've got a huge bed. It's like 7-8 feet wide, and Flo's mum sitting in it, and it looked like she was sitting on a cloud, and there was a green light coming down on her head, and she had elf ears. And anyway, she nursed him through this trip for like 4 hours in the bedroom. And he ran out of loo roll because he had a really runny nose, and he was like really scared to go down the corridor, and like scampered down the corridor to get the loo roll from the loo roll cupboard, which was like 20 feet away, and came back. Tried it on a few times as well.
Wow.
And Flo's mum was like, get your hands off. And then said, darling, how's your trip? And he was like, I don't know, let me ask. Trip, how are you? And she was like, shh, cannot make the name. Sorry, Trip, how are you, Trip? Anyway, since then, he's been chomping at the bit. He wants another go. Yeah, give him a few glasses of rosé a few months ago, and I had some microdose capsules, and I was just stuffing them into his mouth in the kitchen.
Wow, love that.
Yeah.
Do you know
So
what it
he's
is?
jumping.
It's down to each person. They are illegal. They are. We're not gonna shy away from that. They are illegal. I have no idea why. I really don't know why. When there's alcohol is legal.
It's only a matter of time.
It is indeed. But there's studies out there now, that are challenging what people think about psychedelics and challenging what is important for us to know on a medical perspective. But also my lovely flatmate Kat, I don't know if she's watching right now. So my old flatmate, sorry, Kat, studied consciousness, spirituality, and transpersonal psychology. That's the course that she studied. And as part of her master's degree or whatever it was she was doing, she did a really good paper on mushrooms to a degree that nobody else has gone down that rabbit hole as far as what she did. And her stuff's been amazing. So, but she actually has been studying about the microdosing effects and stuff, and she did some really good research on it. And so I think her paper might be getting published as well. So it was really good to hear about all of her stuff as well, and to kind of get the medicinal side of it, because there is a lot of magic there. But again, it's not one size fits all. It's not good for everyone, and also not every strain of mushrooms or whatever you do is for every single type of trip. There's just like marijuana, it's like weed, when you can get loads of different strains for loads of different
absolutely
reasons.
and the different ways that it's extracted as well. I'm a big fan of eating them in their raw form. Mushrooms is frankly disgusting, and the toxicity level of the mushroom makes my stomach churn, and it makes me feel a bit like but having it in chocolate or extracted where the sugars are removed out by adding vitamin C, etc., like that, it's a totally different experience.
It's a different experience entirely, isn't it? Well, I think that we are going to Medicine Festival this weekend, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of experts down there talking about it. But you know more about this festival than I do, actually. Let's have a little snoops on Google, because I only found out I was going this morning.
It's great. So it's Jenna Ansell is an old friend of ours, and she's organising. It's at Wazing House, which is where Wazinga Festival and where the original Glade Festival was until it moved in 2008.
Okay. Medicine
when it went to the Matley Bowl, where Boomtown is currently. There are 3 stages for music. There's a wood stage, there's a main stage, and another stage for something or other.
The family area, ceremony stuff.
Yeah, ceremony stuff, lots of different tents with talks. Our friend Bruce Parry is going to be there.
Yeah,
I've got to see him actually, because he's got a book. I won his book in the Noisily auction, which is a really inefficient way of donating to my own festival. I should have just put it straight in the bank account, but the auction platform took the 3%. But Bruce is very kindly making it out to Young Rider, and I'm going to meet him at the festival.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, I know Bruce.
He's such a nice guy.
He is. I went to. I had dinner at his house in Ibiza. We all went for a really long walk. There's only 4 of us. There are 5 of us. We went for a long walk, and he's a sweet guy. Does amazing stuff online as well. I'm just looking at the whole festival, but the music performance and stuff like that. It's actually pretty. It's pretty good lineup as well, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I mean, Jenna's worked all over the world on loads of different festivals. Working primarily in the healing area of the festival. She was at the Oregon Eclipse, helping manage that.
David Luke's going to be there as well. Just in that. That's good. Yeah. God, there's so many. Mojo Filter.
Ben's closing. It's going to be great. It's Spongle's set from Simon Posford on Sunday night, and then Ben is closing the festival 9 to 10:30. We're actually going on Sunday. We're going to go watch Flo's dad play cricket, not on mushrooms.
Right. Okay. Where is he playing cricket?
He's playing at Swinbrook. It's where Flo and Izzy, her sister, used to go when they were kids. It was like a big family thing. It's up in Oxfordshire. So it's only 50 minutes away from the festival.
Oh.
So we're going to head up there on Sunday lunch.
Nice.
And we're staying at home because we're only 30 minutes away, and the weather's not looking that great.
Really? I didn't realise you were 30 minutes away.
Yeah. So we're staying at home, and Ben and his 3 children and his wife, girlfriend, are staying with us as well. So we're going to have a little sort of crash, and we're going to tap in and out of the festival. And on Sunday we'll probably come back after the cricket. I've got my men's circle on Sunday, so it's a rammed day. So we've got cricket, men's circle, which I'll have to hotspot on the edge of the cricket pitch in Swinbrook, and then head back into the festi for Spongle and Mojo Filter.
Well, I'm looking extremely forward to it. I didn't know I was going, but Abby kindly has taken me, which is lovely. And so that means we might not have a show on Monday morning because I might not be back until then. So I think we might
That's
postpone
cool.
that one, but we'll be back on Wednesday next week. Yes. No, actually, we'll have one Friday morning.
Yeah,
yes.
you and me will be Friday, yeah, because
Yes.
there's been a shift with the radio shows now, hasn't
Yes,
there? So
exactly.
this is my last Wednesday, listeners.
It's your last Wednesday. So are you around to join me on Friday, Charles?
This Friday?
This Friday.
Are we not going to the festival?
I don't know what time I'm going. Actually, that's a good point. I am going to the festival.
You're going to the festival, so prob's not.
Prob's not. Okay, no, we're not doing this Friday. So we will be back next Wednesday morning, and then following on, we're going to be doing 3 times a week. So we will be live. But I'm just glad that we went live this morning. I was very excited that I committed, and although we almost missed it, and although we started late, we are still going to finish here in 5 minutes, which was pretty much now, isn't it? It's 11 o'clock. What are you doing for the rest of the day? What's up? What's going down?
And what's going down for the rest of the day? Flo's hurt her back, haven't you, darling?
Oh no!
She seems to have done. It's not. I don't know if it's a disc. I felt her spine, but she's got some. You know when it just goes and there's no strength in it, and so I'm gonna take on the role of childcare and get her on her back and watching some TV with a hot cup of tea.
Such a good husband, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm looking for one just like you, Charles. I need one that's a little bit taller.
Well, I did 23andMe, and maybe stupidly, because I reckon they're cloning me in a lab in Japan at the moment.
For sure. Yeah, there's a whole other Charles kind of Audley floating around online.
If you wait 30 years now, I might be my number 2 might be around.
I'm not sure I can. 30 years is a long time. I mean, I've already been single for I can't believe I will have been single, like fully single, although I've had a few connections here or there, but nothing longer than 4 weeks. Fully single for 12 years in January.
Wow, that's a dozen.
I've been a dozen years. Oh my God.
Let's not make it a baker's dozen. Let's not make it a
baker's dozen. I'm sure my man's somewhere. He's out there somewhere. I don't know where he is.
You might need some medicine this weekend.
Maybe.
Just put it out there. Pull a card out that deck. Pull a card out that deck.
Where is that deck? Hold on. No. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
You haven't lost the deck. Right, I just got to talk? I've got to talk to the viewers.
You've got to talk. 1 second.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on I Am Sound, which is live now on camera. Not just the radio, which means I've got to make more of an effort when I come on here in the mornings. This is surreal. Now, is there anyone actually listening or watching?
Hold on. Can't.
We got viewers. Alex, he's still there.
Alex is on. Alex has been.
Is Alex still there?
Alex
Hi,
Holland.
how you doing?
Bless him.
Right?
Loving. Yeah, he's cool. Okay, so the card. What are we doing? Tell him to stop shuffling.
Stop.
Okay, splitting them in the middle. Do we want left or right?
Right.
Top or bottom or middle?
Middle.
Boom, boom, boom. Ooh. Lessons. Take the learning on board or be forced to go through it again. This doesn't sound very good. Learn from this. You're going through it for a reason. Listen to what your body is saying. Let your energy levels teach you. Grasp this unique chance to grow and develop in life-changing ways. Embrace what this teaches you about your relationship to money.
To money. Okay.
Money.
Well, there's
no idea. Unless I'm paying
nothing
for a
to do with
boyfriend.
love interest, though.
No, probably not.
Well, I mean, you could always go on Silicon Wives. Is
Silicon...
there a male equivalent?
What is Silicon Wives?
Silicon Wives. We talked about this the other day. You know, the website where you buy those really expensive sex dolls from Japan.
Obviously, you would remember that. I can't remember that. I could go on Silicon Wives.
By the way, people, this isn't just because it was a silicon sex doll from Japan. Like, I remember everything.
Yeah, he does. That's why I've got him on here. He's just a mindful of useless information that I need to draw upon it sometimes, which is great, and I love it. And you also come across really funny.
Thanks,
so amazing. No, he's just here for the banter. But I did pass our last show that we did for when we talked about our alcohol journeys. I passed it on because my dad. It was on a replay yesterday on the radio yesterday morning, and it was my dad loved it. He's like, you and Charles, so funny when you're talking about your alcohol stories. I was like, I can't remember what they are. So I listened to the show again last night. I was like, oh yeah. We went in and said everything. So we're bearing all. We are bearing all, and we're bearing up under the pressure of not having a studio. So we're just here. But Charles, thank you for joining me this morning. Very much appreciated.
Pleasure.
Yay. And in the comments and stuff, and not comments, sorry, in the notes underneath this video, you can download our app because all of our radio is actually live 24/7 on the radio app. So you can get that. And then the shows, if you've missed them, that we're going to start putting them through the radio app today. So you'll be able to listen to our shows and watch the videos through the app. because
great. So you have the option of just listening to the audio or doing the video as well.
Yeah. So I've got to borrow you for that. There's one thing I need to use your mind for technically, but we'll talk about that off air. But I think I've figured out a way to be able to feed everything together, because that's what you've got to do in today's world. So thank you so much. And we will see you not on Friday, not on Monday, because me and Charles are going to Medicine Festival. Little shout out for them again there. And we will see you next Wednesday. And I'll probably be with Faye and another guest. And Charles will be back the following Friday, won't you?
Great. I will. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now. Oh, bye, Ryder. Bye.